In March 2024, the American Heart Association published a finding that sent shockwaves through the longevity community. People following a standard 16-8 intermittent fasting schedule, the most popular protocol on the planet, had a 91% higher risk of death from cardiovascular disease. 91%. Now, before you throw out your fasting app, I need to show you exactly what that study actually measured, what it got wrong, and what it got right. Because the honest answer is more useful than the scary headline, and more useful than the hype going the other direction. Let's go through the real data. In the next 9 minutes, I'm going to give you 3 things. This channel exists to give you the answer that peer-reviewed research supports, even when that answer is inconvenient. Stay with me. Let's start with the study that scared half the internet. The American Heart Association presented findings from an analysis of over 20,000 American adults. People who ate within an 8-hour window or less had a significantly higher risk of cardiovascular death. That's a real finding from a real data set, and it deserves a real explanation. Here's what the study actually measured, and here's why 34 researchers who study time-restricted eating signed a letter to the AHA pushing back. The dataset used was NHANES, a national health survey where participants reported what they ate on 2 non-consecutive days. 2 days, out of their entire life. The people who appeared to eat in a compressed window on those 2 days may have been sick, recovering from illness, grieving, dealing with a medical condition that caused them to eat less. When you eat less because you're unwell, and then researchers label you an intermittent faster, you get a confounded result. Honest, does that mean you should ignore the AHA signal entirely? No, it means you should understand it correctly. Here's what the mouse studies promised. Here's what the human trials actually delivered. And there's a gap, but it's not where most people think it is. Intermittent fasting produces dramatic results in mice. 30 to 40% lifespan extension in some studies. Autophagy, cellular self-cleaning, genuinely triggered by fasting periods. Autophagy is real. It's relevant to aging. Your cells clearing damaged proteins and dysfunctional organelles. This matters for longevity. The question nobody is asking loudly enough is, how much fasting does a human actually need to trigger meaningful autophagy? And does that translate to the lifespan extension we see in mice? The honest answer is, we don't know yet. Not because the research is bad, because human longevity trials take decades, and we haven't had decades. What we do have is the best human data on caloric restriction ever collected. 218 participants. 2 years. 14% caloric restriction. The result, a statistically significant but modest improvement in biological aging markers, roughly 2 to 3% improvement. Real. Meaningful. Not the 30% lifespan extension the mouse posters promised. If this kind of honest breakdown is what you're looking for, no supplements to sell, no protocol to push, hit subscribe. We publish every week. You can always unsubscribe. Now, what does 16-8 actually do in humans? Because here the data gets genuinely interesting. Human trials on 16-8 time-restricted eating showed genuine, reproducible metabolic improvements. These effects are real, they're meaningful, especially for people with metabolic syndrome, elevated blood sugar, or significant inflammatory markers. But here's where the picture gets complicated, and this is the part most IF advocates skip. The direct longevity effect, biological age reduction, telomere length, epigenetic clock improvements, is less robustly established in humans than the short-term metabolic markers. We don't yet have a long-term randomized controlled trial showing that 16-8 extends human lifespan. The mechanistic argument is compelling. The mouse data is compelling. The human metabolic data is promising. But promising is not the same as proven. And at Golden Year's Pulse, we don't call something proven until it is. But here's the twist, and I mean this. This might be the most important thing in this entire video. The biggest benefit of intermittent fasting may have almost nothing to do with fasting itself. Your body runs on a circadian clock. Every organ, your liver, your pancreas, your gut, has a biological rhythm synchronized to daylight. When you eat in alignment with that rhythm during daylight hours, earlier in the day, your metabolism processes food with dramatically greater efficiency. When you eat at 9 or 10 at night, the same meal produces worse metabolic outcomes. higher blood glucose response, higher insulin spike, greater inflammatory signal. Here's what that means for intermittent fasting. A significant portion, possibly the majority, of the metabolic benefit attributed to 16-8 may actually come from one simple thing: stopping late-night eating. The 16-hour fast may mostly be solving a problem that didn't need to be a protocol. It just needed to be an earlier dinner. A 2024 systematic review found that early time-restricted eating earlier in the day, produced significantly better metabolic outcomes than the same eating window shifted to the evening. The window matters, but the position of the window matters more. So should you do intermittent fasting? The answer depends entirely on who you are, and I mean that specifically. Let me break it down. If you have metabolic syndrome, elevated fasting blood sugar, or are overweight, 16-8 with a genuine commitment to food quality in your eating window, this is evidence supported. The short-term metabolic benefits are real and clinically meaningful for you. If you're already at a healthy weight, metabolically healthy, and physically active, the marginal benefit of strict 16 weight is likely small. Focus on food quality and stop eating by 7 or 8 in the evening. That single change captures most of the circadian benefit. If you are over 55, this is the part I need you to hear. The research on morning protein for muscle preservation after 50 is very strong. Skeletal muscle loss, sarcopenia, is one of the leading predictors of mortality, falls, and loss of independence in older adults. When you skip breakfast to maintain a fasting window, you delay the first protein stimulus of the day. For someone over 55 trying to preserve or build muscle, that trade-off may not be worth it. Don't trade muscle mass for a fasting protocol. After 55, muscle preservation is the higher priority. Next Saturday, we're covering 5 foods marketed as heart-healthy that research suggests are silently working against you, including one that appears in virtually every mainstream clean eating guide. Next Saturday, 5 healthy foods that may be aging you faster. Subscribe so you don't miss it. It's the kind of video that changes what's in your grocery cart. So here's the practical summary, based on the actual human evidence. 1. Stop eating by 7 to 8 p.m. every day. This is the single highest leverage circadian intervention. It doesn't require skipping breakfast, it doesn't require hunger, and it captures a significant portion of what makes time-restricted eating work. 2. If you're metabolically unhealthy, try 16-8 with real food in the eating window, not ultra-processed food in an 8-hour window. The window only works if what's inside it is working for you. 3. If you're over 55, protect your morning protein. 30 grams of protein at your first meal, before noon, every day. The muscle you preserve now is the independence you keep at 80. The 91% headline was scary, and it was real enough to warrant attention. But it wasn't the full story. It never is, with a single study presented before peer review from self-reported data over 2 days. That's why we're here, to read the full story. Now I want to hear from you, because this is genuinely one of the most practiced interventions in our audience. Do you currently do intermittent fasting? What protocol? And honestly, how do you feel on it? Your experience is data too, and sometimes it's the most honest data we have. If this gave you a clearer picture than what you had when you clicked play, subscribe. We'll be here next Saturday.